Remember the silence from Doctor Who? Now look at this. These skulls were found by archaeologists in the Caucasus. They were found in a chest on which there was the emblem of a German occult organization known as Anna Nerba. The organization existed in the 1940s, and its purpose was to search for mystical relics. Judging by the shapes of the skulls, the beings to whom these remains belonged were definitely horned and walked on two legs. They also lacked mouths, having instead small holes on the sides of their heads. Who these skulls belonged to, and exactly what the Anna Nerva were looking for in the Caucasus, remains a
We asked Russian film expert Sergei Goncharov to examine the film for its authenticity. He first explained the background of the film Cannes.
And this is the name of the factory that manufactures the motion picture film in the city of Pereslavl. This is the type of film type A2, which is the emulsion.
After Sergei examined the cans, he felt that they were authentic and consistent with the area and time period from which they had allegedly come.
Now that we've looked at the cans, the next thing to do was to actually find out if the film itself had any markings on it. Okay, in the very beginning of the film, we have this word, which in Russian says начало, or the beginning, or the start. Now, the next bit of information are these two items. M-A-R-T, Mart, which is the month of March, 1969, letter G for year. So the year of 1969, the month of March. Okay, then we have the two bits of information which says plyonka number 267. Plyonka in Russian means emulsion or film, could denote the reel, the roll, or a batch, and this, of course, is the number. The next thing we see is this bit of information. Совершенно секретно, top secret archive of the KGB logo and the word archive of the KGB.
Finally, Sergei Goncharov compared the markings on the film itself to what was printed on the cans.
As you notice right here on the edge of the negative, we have the word безопасная пленка, meaning safety film, and type A2 or type A2, which is exactly the information that you have on a can.
Next, we showed the film to Russian researcher Paul Stonehill.
The colors of the film, the quality, soldier uniforms. Somebody would have to go into special, to make a special effort to make a film that feels like something that was made in 1960s. I've seen a lot of films made in the 1960s, and this film here is almost of the same quality. It's not a 1980s or 1990s film. The KGB officer that had been looking and touching things looks quite genuine. To me, my gut feeling is this is not something that they had made intentionally to fool people.
UFO researcher Antonio Huneeus offered us his views on the film.
I would say that visually it's very impressive. The first thing that struck me was the good quality, very, very, very clear footage. You see, of course, it wouldn't be impossible to duplicate, as a hoax. You would have to hire some actors and so on. But it was quite well done. Of course, it could even be some kind of disinformation too, that the KGB was quite notorious about doing disinformation. For what purpose, I don't know, but they might have done some kind of training film or something to... Of course, if it was disinformation aimed against the Americans or something, we never heard of it, so that's also dubious.
Finally, while Mr. Huneeus felt that the film required more investigation, he was impressed and intrigued by it.
Well, I would say that if this is real, and I do not have the elements to make that judgment, this is so far the best footage of an alleged crash UFO or a dead alien that I've seen so far.
The story seems to be backed up in part by one of the people who claims to have been involved in the operation back in 1969. We found ex-KGB staffer Pavel Alexandrovich Klimchenkov living in seclusion in the Bryansk region of central Russia. He remembers the strange wreckage found in Beryozovsky.
At first, everyone believed that those debris were parts of some novelty aircraft manufactured in the United States or England. But having done some measuring and material analysis, we came to the conclusion that none of the domestic or foreign manufacturers known to us could have produced this apparatus, at least not in the conditions existing on this planet. It was then that an order came to transport the debris to the base in Mytishi near Moscow. Together with several other officers, I was assigned to provide safety and security to these materials during their transportation.
Is it possible the Russians actually recovered an alien craft and its occupant 3 decades ago? One other proposed possibility is that it was simply a military training exercise captured on film. Again, if it is a real UFO crash, where are the remnants? And what happened to the body of the alien being?
What happened in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947? What do you believe? Here are the top 3 facts on the 1947 Roswell UFO case. 1. The Army did indeed authorize a press release initially stating that they had captured a flying saucer in Roswell. The very next day after the local newspaper reported on this, the Army had changed their story and said that they only recovered a weather balloon. 2. Several decades after the incident, hundreds of witnesses came forward with first-hand and second-hand testimony stating that the weather balloon story was a cover-up and that they could never forget the strange nettle-like material that was actually recovered from the crash. 3. Even some of the top officials from the Army who were involved admit
In July 1947, a flying object crashed close to Roswell, New Mexico. Initially, the Army claimed to have had a flying disc in their possession, but 24 hours later, they modified their story, claiming that it was actually an experimental high-altitude weather balloon being utilized by the covert U.S. military Air Force instead. Yet, was it? According to reports from the 1970s and 1980s, the military was engaged in collecting alien spacecraft and conducting autopsies on the bodies of aliens found at the crash site. So, what are they really hiding?